Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Celebrate Greatness, where greatness meets face to face. It is Super Saturday, and I am super excited to be joined in my live studio. And I am Dr. Stephanie Poplar, and I am joined in the studio with my two colleagues. To believe it or not, we are all in our own respective place, sanctuary. How are you doing tonight, hot sauce?
I'm doing great. As you say, hotter than hot. I'm doing good.
No, you're hotter than hot sauce. How about that? Okay, and how are you, Archbishop Dr. Michael Watson?
I am doing great. How are both of you all doing?
I am super excited. I'm super
Yep, we're
excited.
doing great, my brother.
I'm in here trying to play catch up on administrative work, and it's like 90% there. I may do the other 10% tonight or have to wait till first thing in the morning. But I just want to say today was a day filled with God's abundance, right? Abundance. I felt joy. I felt love. I felt peace. I felt happiness, all the fruits of the Spirit. And it's a blessing when you can say that because there's so much adversity going on, so many adverse conditions, so many challenges, so many D's in life, right? Disappointment, death, denial, divorce, you name it. But what one thing I discovered today is that we do have a destiny. And we have such a destiny that we don't have to allow any of the D's of life to deter us from achieving the necessary goals that God has given us. We know many people are concerned about how am I going to pay for my food. Today I was in a supermarket and several people were saying the inflation is real. What am I going to do? I can't afford uh, public assistance. I don't know how long, I will have income because it looks like the income may be cut off due to the various things that's happening, with our administration. So there are so many concerns, so many that we even have our own concerns, but I just want to say that God is faithful. I want like for hot sauce to play a little bit of that song when he can, because I want to set the tone that God is still faithful, that even in the midst of every adversity, every challenge that we may face, every bruise and bang, God is still faithful. And so tonight we have come to encourage you in times like these we need. And we made that saying pretty broad enough where it's open ended, right? You can add in times like these, in time like these, we need. And so we need the necessities that we may have. All of them may be similar or all of them may differ, but in times like these, we need. So we're going to start off by not only talking about in times like these, we need, but we want to also take the moment, just to bring each other up to speed. Like, what have we been working on? Hot sauce, we know that you've been making impact in the community. Watson, we know Bishop Watson, you've been making impact in the community. We've been out here, and it's been a minute since we have come together to discuss what's happening in our lives, but most importantly, what ways in which we are making an impact. So it's just a blessing to be here with my two co-hosts. And we missing KB, but nevertheless, KB, she's with her family. But tonight we have come on just to share. I'm so grateful for the brothers. So it's open. In times like these, we need, what do we need?
Boy, Bishop, I thought you were going to say something.
Now, go ahead.
Like, what do we need? Like, I know we need prayer.
We need prayer. We also need to realize that we've got to be resilient. And resilience just means to do all that you can do not to quit. And because it's almost it's like running in a race.
Yes.
We tell athletes all the time. If
Yes.
you stop in the middle of the race, you're guaranteed to lose.
Wow.
But if you keep going to the finish line, you got a better chance of winning.
Wow.
So
That's
you got to do whatever you have to do to keep on going.
wow.
And sometimes you're moving fast, sometimes you're moving slow, sometimes you're crawling, sometimes you're rolling. But the
Yes.
object is to keep on going. Even if you get knocked back, don't stop movement. All right, because backwards is movement too, but just get the movement going in another direction. And we've got to continue to move forward and endure all hardness because we all are facing hardness. As the word says, endure all hardness as a good soldier. Um, as a good soldier in Christ, the word says that. So enduring means to just not quit. That's all endurance means. It doesn't mean to be the best. It doesn't mean you're feeling your best. It doesn't mean you're in the best mood. It doesn't mean you're in the best having the best day. It just means
Yes.
when you endure, when somebody is enduring, they're continuing to engage. And when you're continuing to engage, that means you just haven't quit. You just haven't quit because what doesn't kill you will truly make you stronger.
Wow, that's profound right there, the resilience. I believe that with all that's happening in times like these, that God is going to bless with restoration in your mind, body, and your spirit, restoration in giving you the strategies, the tools, the knowledge, the wisdom on how to move forward, as you stated. So moving forward is progressive, is progression in place. Like you don't want to go backwards, you want to go forward. You know, the songwriter, I believe Ludacris said, when I move, you move. It's just like that. And oftentimes when we've been on our broadcast, the three of us, including myself, right, we talked about how God moves when you move. And whether it's you jumping, hopping, skipping, running, just understanding that movement have to take place. If God has given you a dream, if God has given you a vision, God has given you also the provision. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and say, I wonder if doors are going to open? Or are you going to just get up and say, let me just go to the door? Perhaps push the door, perhaps touch the knob, but movement must take place. You can't sit there and just continue to say, I don't know what's going to happen. The more you're talking about what's going to happen, then what are you doing to make it happen?
Right. Right. Where is your action at? We got to stir up the gifts that are on the inside of us. And that is what and the gifts that are on the inside of us are the righteousness of God. That's that God has put that's God's righteousness on the inside of us. The gifts He's given us are righteous. We seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, which is the gift, His right, part of His righteousness for us is the gifts we have inside of us. Then all these things will be added unto us: what we'll eat, what we'll drink, where we'll live. Everything that
Mm,
Matthew 6:30 said.
yes.
So as we stir up the gift, the opportunity will come. The gift will truly make room for itself. And in the Greek, that word "make room" actually comes from the word that literally means explosion. So it will actually blow a hole of entry into your situation, blow a path open, and make room for you to walk through it as you stir it. And the thing about it is, all you have to do is be prepared, and God will give you the opportunity to stir. God will give you the opportunity to stir it up. It always won't be the most convenient time.
That's
It won't always be when your energy is its high. It'll
yeah.
just be the opportunity. And
Yeah.
if you just seize that opportunity, something
Mhm.
will lead to something else. But nothing truly will lead to nothing else.
Wow.
Exactly. And
Wow.
like I said, at times like these, we need to We need to keep on, we need to keep going no matter what happens, no matter who's in the office, no
Yes.
matter what it looks like. As long
That's
as we,
right.
as long as we know we got God, we're not gonna answer to the Congress. We're not gonna answer to the president. Our faith comes from who? From God. The only person we got to answer to is God.
Right.
Mhm.
So, we got to keep going no matter what it looks like, no matter what the administration is trying to do. As long as we got our faith and we know who our king is, we know who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords in our life. It's not the president, it's not the Congress, it's not the governor, it's not the mayor, but we know who holds our future.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing, just to summarize, right, what both of you have said thus far, right, that we have to be anchored in our faith. We have to hold steadfast, right, and unmovable, always abounding in the works of God. Hold tight to that faith and don't wither, no matter what we see on the federal, the state, the local level. And also, I have that understanding that we can have the resilience, we can have the ability to move forward despite who's in office. That's powerful right there because so many
Yeah.
people, the young people are feeling affected. My seventh grader, my son, he's like, Mommy, are you concerned? And I said, no, I've given it to God, but giving it to God does not mean not getting up, being proactive. Not giving it to God does not mean sitting around waiting, right? For others to determine your fate or destiny. Giving it to God is like, God, I give you this situation. Now, can you give me the strategy, the solution? Can you give me the know withal on how to move forward? And if I could share this with you as we talk about in times like these, we need. And that's a pretty broad statement, and it means different things to many of us. It may mean that we need peace. Some of us need inner peace. Some of us need patience. Some of us need perseverance. Some of us need more finances. It's going to be broad. It's going to be different for all of us. But it took my mother to transition for me to recognize and understand the nuggets, the knowledge, the wisdom that she was trying to impart upon me, and what I recognize and realize is that times are getting worse, right? Times, calamities, challenges, rumors of war, all these different things that we have heard, right? Even as a child, we've heard, the pastor speak on, or our grandparents. And times, the young people are weaker but wiser. So these things should not come to surprise to us. But one thing I do know that we must be proactive. What does that mean? Someone called today and said, Stephanie, we need to start buying cases of water. We need to start buying canned goods. With all that's happening, with administration, food may be to the point where inflation has hit so much that people can't afford it, or we may have a lack. We may one day not have electricity. We may one day not have internet. This person had a lot of concerns, and this person was really worried, and the word let us know that we must have faith, right? We must have faith, and the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so one or the other, faith or fear. And so it's normal. Yes, it's the physicality of us, being a human, the carnality of us. Yeah, fear will try to set in, but what we have to do is command our day to be blessed, and we must command and we must declare and decree the blessings of God, and recognize that, okay, this is what's happening. This is my humanistic side is upon me, but allow me, God, to look through, or look as you would look at things. Because if you look at what you see on the news, if you look at what you see with your natural eyes, it can make you feel like, wow, can I even live? Can I survive? So many people are feeling, and I don't have the statistics, but I'm just saying from the conversations I'm hearing, people are perplexed. They're troubled, but we as change agents should be able to encourage, to inspire. So now that we know that we are in perilous times, what can we do? What have we done to make a difference? Starting
And
with you, Sauce, because you make a difference every day. You let us know how we need to activate those brain cells. And so, what are you doing to make a difference with our young people, with our seniors?
well, I just, as the military term says, I just occupy where I am. And as far as being an
Yeah,
educator in a high school educator, as far as being a coach, uh, um, um, a high school coach in track and field, strength and conditioning, um, as far as being a trainer, as far as being a fitness instructor, as far as being a um, mentor, uh, Bible study teacher, being a minister at the church. As far
yeah,
as being available to talk to people, I occupy where I am because God gives me platforms as I've waited on Him. Scripture says, "Wait upon the Lord, shall they renew their strength." And that word "wait" actually, that's to say that actual word doesn't mean just waiting on God. It also means to put your weight on God. In other words, I'm leaning on Him, and sometimes the only way we can be upright is to lean. So it's almost like you're leaning on Him. In other words, I don't have any strength in my legs and in my feet, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put my back up against God and lean on Him, and then let Him renew my strength as I rest on Him. And then as I rest on Him, I'll mount up on wings as eagles. So you just got to occupy where you are. And if you look around and you say, well, I don't have an opportunity, or you may hear what I'm saying and think, well, I don't have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. I don't have an opportunity. I don't have anybody to talk to. If you 6 feet above ground, you got an opportunity. If you don't know where it is, all you got to do is ask. Just say, Lord, where can I make a difference? And I promise you, you will be overrun with opportunities, with people to talk to, people to make a difference with, and people to make a difference with. And don't despise the small beginnings because they'll lead to other things. Because all of these things that I do, and I really believe, even with you, Bishop, and even with you, Stephanie, all of the things that quote unquote the great things that we do started with something small, started with some way that we helped somebody
yeah,
small, and it mushroomed into something else. And if we can go back to that root, that start, if we had not chosen to do that little thing, it would lead to the big things of things you're doing with Stephanie, helping people getting their doctorates and radio show and all the stuff you do as a contractor, and Bishop, how you work with Nan and, and Reverend Sharpton. All of those things didn't just happen bam like that. It was one small thing that you chose to do, that little thing that you chose to do that led to the explosion. And a lot of times people look at your big stuff and they want to start off big. They want to do stuff, start off big. But you got to start off small so you can develop the muscles for the big. Because I tell you what, once you climb the mountain, it
yeah,
takes strength to stay on that mountain because
yeah,
the wind is blowing a lot harder at the top of that mountain than
yes,
it is at the bottom of the mountain. And you develop muscles along the way to get to the top. So you better take the climb seriously. Get those muscles strong so that when you get to the top, you got the strength to hold, but strength to hold on at the top. But that strength was developed in the climb of the mountain.
wow,
Don't duck
that's
the
powerful.
work. Don't duck
Mm,
the work. And y'all, I don't need to.
yeah,
That's one of the things, even when I'm dealing with young people. Because you mentioned that, and the word said they'll be wise, weaker, but wiser.
yes,
Everybody's smarter, but everybody's trying to find a way to duck the work. And even with my athletes, you're
mm,
trying to find a way to be a good top athlete without exercise, without working
uh,
out, without doing and putting the extra work in the weight room and all that. Don't duck the work, because even if you do get the destination, even if you have ducked the work and gotten around the work, you won't be able to keep it because you have not developed the stamina to be able to hold on to it and to be a blessing to other people by you standing in it. Us standing in what we're doing in our actions is what's blessing people. They're seeing how you go through, how you withstand, how
Yes.
you trust in God,
Yeah.
how you handle the storm, how you
Yes.
handle the storm. That's when it becomes not about us, it's about them. But you're
Right.
not gonna get it if you duck the work. And I'm trying to get them stop being so lazy and ducking the work. Because if you duck the work, you can't fool this thing. You can't fool gravity. You reap what you sow. As you said, principles don't go away. Technology, I don't care how many iPads, how many
Yes.
iPhone, you have an iPhone 96.
Yes. Wow. Wow, that's
You go
powerful.
now we have. You go continue to reap what you sow. So stop ducking the work. I'm sorry, y'all. I
No,
just
you're just passionate.
don't duck the
You,
work.
And, no, and you're right. You're right because, like you said, you got to start from small
you,
beginning. Like you said, it started with me working with Nan,
I'm
and then
sorry. Mm,
it started me working out with the Baltimore community chapter, and then from that, I was asked to join a call with the
yes.
Caucus of African American Leaders. So on
Yeah.
that call, I was, giving out information about NAD, and through that, you know, by
Yes.
being by being at the convention last week in New York, we had somebody who was a part of the Caucus of African American Leaders to say, "Hey, Bishop,
Yes.
hey, I want information on how can I go to the convention." I gave him the information, and I gave all those information who wanted to come, and we had about four or five people from the
Yes.
Eastern Shore that actually went to the convention this year. And
Awesome.
then, and then, like I said, by working through the convention, who would I have thought that on last Saturday during the National Action Network rally, as soon as I walk in the door, Reverend Toombs was a national field doctor and said, "Bishop, I want you to be on the panel." Who would have thought that I'm going to be on a national live rally while
Hmm.
Reverend Thompson is standing there, and
Yes.
I'm actually sitting there with other leaders, and I'm actually talking about everything that's going in Baltimore. So, like you
If
said,
I could say something, God uses people, places, and things. The
yeah,
same way God uses people, places, and things, the opposite. The devil can use people, places, and things. But one of the things I want to focus on is that we who are believers and we who uh, believe that God has a plan for our lives before the foundation of the world, before we were in our mother's womb. And
uh-huh,
for those of us who believe and have the faith that every day we're walking by faith, that God is covering us and keeping us when we walk out that door, right? When we go to venues or events, that God is going to show up and give us favor. So the truth of the matter is, favor goes before us, before
exactly,
we even get there, right? So the doors, we don't have to be surprised when the blessings of God is upon our lives. We don't have to act like, oh, did God really do this? Yes, God is going to show up. So we have to have the anticipation that even in the midst of anything that we deal with, adversity, problems, or it may not even be an adversity. It could just be the mere fact that when I go and I go into that room, opportunities going to present. So then that way you go in already anticipating that the blessings of God are upon you, and those who need to hear your story or those who need to know who you are will already know. So if we can believe in ourselves, if we can believe in the power of God in us, working in us, right? In us and through us and around us, then there's no limitation on what God gonna do. And so
exactly,
when hearing the blessings of God, the favors of God, you can now have that mindset that everything I do, everything, I don't care if I'm dealing with a bad situation or somebody bringing a situation to me that's so adverse. I have to look that God is still working this out in my behalf. What is it for me to learn? How can my life be used to give God glory more? Like, so it could be even embarrassing situations. And I can talk about that. It could be through situations that you have helped others, but yet in the promotion of others, right? They're trying to demote. But when you have that mindset and you know that Romans 8:28, right? You stand on that and you don't have to
All
have
things.
a shirt on that. You don't have to wear that. Like I'm wearing this, which I love this. I got this from Dr. Melanie today. Blessed, right? Sometimes we do, like we sometimes we do need to wear certain garment because
Yeah.
sometimes we forget that we are God's children and we allow adversity and we allow challenges. And all I can speak on that because for a moment I'm like, am I the adversity coach or the queen? Am I the adversity what the doctor or what? But one thing we can be assured that God is always going to open up doors for us. So even in our down moment, God is raising us up. You know, one time was given to me. I'll never forget going through some challenges. I was a millennial and I was at the park, right? And it's the power of the water. Water is so serene. And what was given to me, it was, given to me when I saw the waterfalls, and it was just dropped in my spirit that in our down moments, God lift us up. So on that note, there you can always anticipate that everywhere you go, the blessings of God gonna show up. Even if
That's right.
somebody try to do anything that will try to cause shame or embarrassment, God's blessing is going to show up if you keep that in mind. So building yourself, the confidence, and saying, God, use my gifts. I give these gifts back unto you. I render these gifts to you. My gift and ability of public speaking, my gift or ability to edify, my gift or ability to teach and train. So if we can give these gifts that God has put inside of us, right? Has put in us before we were in our mother's womb, right? Before our mother and our dad came and procreate, then we can say in times like these, we know that God is going to bring us through. Times like these, we know
Yeah.
that God is going to give us a word to encourage not only others, but ourselves too.
No, and you're right.
Right.
And like I said, who, and like you said, who would ever thought? Like you said, here our governor opened up the convention on Wednesday, and what happened? God allowed me to be able to close out the convention on a Thursday. So, like you said, your gifts and your room.
God.
Like, who would ever do it? They was like, hey, here's the governor opened it up on Monday or Wednesday. Here it is on Thursday during the broadcast. Oh, Bishop Watson representing Baltimore. He closing out the convention.
But you know what? All you need to say is to God be the glory.
Yes,
Give it to God. And like my mother will always say, and I said, why she keeps saying that to me? Stay humble. Remain humble. But staying and remaining humble is not saying that you are a doormat. But it's
right.
recognizing that it's God is my source and that God has already made provision for me to move forward and carry the plan as God will have for me to do. So now you're saying, Lord God, any way you bless me, I'll be satisfied. So again, for me, Dr. Watson, and I would say fitness guru, it took mommy transitioning for me to start seeing more things, the spiritual aspect. And now the things of what she was saying, watch out for flattery. People want to flatter you. Watch out certain things. It's just the wisdom and, those old saints, the saints, praying us through. Although they're not here in the physical, your grandmother is not here, hot sauce. Your grandmother's not here, Dr. Watson, but the prayers, they rendered enough prayers, right? And if we have received from them, then we can still operate in a beautiful spirit of knowing that God is our source. That yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil. That no weapon that is formed against us shall prosper, but every word that rises up against us, it shall be condemned. In times like these, that we, what a friend we have, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, right? Or what a friend we have in Almighty God that we can carry, we can take all of our situations. So it's now that we are now forced to have to become the word, right? We are forced to now be able to speak the word, because there are situations that's happening on a daily that we either going to be speaking positivity or negativity, right? Positive plus negative still will be negative. So every day we have to align up with what am I going to do? Am I going to operate in my purpose? Am I going to live, or am I going to just exist? So we have options. So in times like these, we better take on the positivity. We better take on, the perseverance. I've heard you say, Dr. Watson, and also hot sauce, right? That we have to make movement. We can't just sit and keep looking around, thinking and wondering who's going to come save us. How about you save yourself? You get up, you learn, you read a book. You get up and you learn, you learn a new skill. You get up and you learn. You open to positivity, to be teachable and coachable.
Right. And the go ahead, and the thing, and and even with what you said, Mr. Watson, what you said about all of those opportunities and platforms you had, it started with you not ducking the work, and you're not ducking the work. And the thing about it is, our ancestors, like our grandparents, your mother, everybody that's gone on, what they did was they made a decision of action, and we looked at their action
Yes,
example. And so now that they've gone on, that's what they've left with us to do the same thing for the generation before us. I
yes,
believe that people that are in their 40s, in the 40 to 60 range, 40 to 60 range, that 20-year cycle, the baton has been passed to us. 20 years before us is people that's in their 80s and 70s. They
yes,
passed the baton on.
yes,
They stood those things that you said to him, what a friend we have in Jesus.
yes, yes,
They stood through some rough times in the 50s and the
yes.
60s. See,
Oh my goodness.
they stood through, so there are places where we go every day, streets that we drive down every day,
Oh my
places
goodness.
that we walk
Yes.
every day that they didn't walk, or if you did walk, you had to walk at a certain part of the day. Because if you was caught around there at night,
My
you'd get beat down. And there was
goodness.
nothing you could do about it. And a lot of times it was the police that would beat you down
Oh
because
my
it was not legal for you to be around. And
goodness.
they endured those times. And because they endured that example, now we know how to walk in that example.
True.
And now that's what we have to walk in to
Yes.
leave for the young people behind us. And it's
Yes.
especially crucial now because they haven't we had a glimpse of hardness and racism because we were close to it, but we weren't in it. I talk
Yes.
about
Yes.
last Friday was the anniversary of Martin Luther King being
Mhm.
assassinated. Now, chronologically, when that happened, I was 3 years old.
Oh
I
wow.
don't remember anything when I was three, but
Yes.
that I do know that I won't when I was 2 years old. I was 2 years old. I won't drinking from no white folks fountain. I do know that. If I said, mommy, I wanted to drink, I wasn't drinking from no white folks fountain. I was drinking from a color fountain. If I needed to go to the bathroom, I knew mom was taking me, and I
Mm.
didn't know what it was, but I knew that's where I was going. I knew that's where I was going at 2 years old because that was 1967. And I
Wow.
know what the laws were in 1967. So I say that to say we were close enough to it. So
Mhm.
it was easy for us to listen to our elders and get an understanding of it. The young people now, when you think about it, they're
Mhm.
coming out of the Barack Obama era.
Oh my
All
goodness.
right, where okay, they got to see a black man in office as president. Something that us, if we were to think about it, when we was teenagers, that was something that we was thinking, oh, that ain't gonna never happen.
That's
If
true.
you'd have asked us, think about it, when we were in high school, if you'd have asked us, will we have a black president? We'd have probably been saying, nah, no. I remember when Jesse Jackson was running. Reverend
Mm.
Jesse Jackson was running. That was my freshman year in college.
Yeah.
That's how I even got registered to vote because on his campaign trail, He stopped by my college, university, had 3 charter buses, piled us up, took us downtown, and
Yeah.
registered us to vote. That's when he was on the campaign trail. And that was the first I'd ever seen. But it did
That's
something to me.
amazing.
But
Mm-hmm.
it did something to me. What it did was it helped give me an
Yeah.
understanding that I'm not inferior to anybody as a black man. That's
Mm,
what it
that's
did to
amazing.
me. And see, it's that same
Mm,
example that now we have to live. Because basically, I'm telling you, some of the young people just working with, just be working young people. Young people listen to what you do quicker than they listen to what you say. So when you say something, they hear it, but they really are looking at what you do. All
wow.
right? Because what you do is what's going to stick and what's going to resonate with them.
Mhm.
So if you're representing the words that
Yes.
are coming out your mouth, you're going to make a huge impact with them and it's going to truly stick. And when we think about it, that's the
Mhm.
same way it was with us. We say where it was not. That's why Bishop, you working with Reverend Al Sharpton. That's
Yeah.
why some of you've done the things you've done on radio and been with Sister Kathy Hughes and Radio One because of the examples that they set because they grew up in the heat of the fire and set those examples for us, and that's why we're able to walk in their example. And that's why even in these tough times, we can't we can't fold and throw in the towel because that's
Yeah.
what we're going to be teaching people. And we can't do that.
Hmm. You know, it's amazing you said that. I remember over a decade ago, an acronym was given to me. You know, I'm always writing acronyms.
Uh-huh.
Messages are always given to me. And so the question was given, and I know it was over 12 years ago when it was given to me because I was right in Capitol Heights. The question was posed, are you a minister? And the minister stood for moving individuals now in servitude through empowerment resources. So if the words that I just spoken, it is related to the word minister. M for moving, I for individuals, N is for now, I for in, S is for servitude. T is through, and then the E is for empowerment, and then the R is for resources, moving individuals and now and servitude through empowerment resources. So when you think about it, we could be minister of information, we could be a minister of change, we could be a minister in so many forms. It doesn't always have to be in the pulpit, right? But we know that we are bringing good news that to bring about change and the salvation and to bring about the deliverance that's once needed. So when we start thinking about us moving individuals now through servitude, right? Service. So many people don't understand the power of service. They think, oh, if I render service to you, right, that I'm a doormat. No, you
Yeah.
know, service is what we have seen. Our
But
forefathers, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Douglas. We have seen Frederick Douglass service. So
yeah,
Mm. We are grateful that we had great servants that understood the power of service. And so, the more I'm working in this aspect as a chaplain or a representative, and I'm grateful for my mentors who have made a difference and who have nominated me to be able to be in this role, I can say that it does me some good to know that I can celebrate each other's greatness. I can celebrate a Dr. Watson. I can celebrate, all the other leaders who are obtaining their honorary doctorate. I'm excited to know that Hot Sauce, you're going to be in the number in September. And that's your birthday month. You know, when you understand the power of service and how it happened and took place before our forefathers, right? That they came up with a plan. I believe that we would treat one another better. We would understand that we don't have to compete. We can complement. We don't have to be jealous or envious. We don't have to spread. Uh, what was told to me, gossip versus gospel. We don't have to do these things because we've been through enough. We've already been beaten down. Society has already beaten us down as a people. But what we can do in times like these, right? Come together, love on one another, speak life to each other, learn how to let love abide, learn how to be a mentor to the children. You see, I know we're educators, right? You see, Watson, you're an educator. We see that the children are concerned about things that they should not have to be concerned. They shouldn't be concerned about how they're going to get their next meal. They shouldn't be concerned how are they going to help mama or daddy pay the bills. Some things we are putting on children it shouldn't be. So in times like these, we need parents to step up. We need more mentors. In times like these, we need more individuals say, God, what shall I render unto you? God, you have given me benefits. You have given me gifts and talents. How can I give these gifts and talents? We need more entrepreneurs, whether it's part-time, full-time. Hey, times like these, we need more social programs. We need to become social entrepreneurs, setting up 501c3s. In times like these, we may need to start back the bartering system. In times like these. So what are we going to do in our last few minutes? What are we going to do? Or what good news are we going to spread to others, even if they don't receive it, even if they don't understand it, even if they ridicule the plan that God has given each and every one of us? What are we going to do? So what are some things, some moving steps, if I could share with you as you're thinking on this, right? I'm going to bend down to get something that was given to me, which was a blessing. This, right? I want to thank Dr. Bonita for telling me about this event. I saw some of my other friends. I hadn't seen them in months, right? And maybe a couple years. But again, I think that we need to learn how to disseminate good information. Sometimes we are gatekeepers. We don't want to share good information, good news, and good resources. But I'm grateful that I was given information and I knew that my time was going to be spent here. I tried, right? But at the end of the day, I can't clone myself, right? All I could do is give out good spirits or positivity, but I knew I couldn't be 4 other places that was demanding my time. But I was at the right place at the right time, given what I needed. Because again, we have to ask God, command our day to be blessed. And so there today, sometimes we think that our cup is almost empty, right? I got this cup right here. Our cup is really, really full. We think our water is almost gone, but it's still enough. It's our mindset. And today, when the young lady was speaking, who had come up with this, Miss Lyric, she came up with this brunch that was amazing. And it was an investment. And in the investment, right? I didn't know what I would get, but the anticipation. And I'm telling you, when I left that place, I was so filled. We got a journal. May you be proud of the work you do, the, the person you are, and the difference you make. Let me read that again. May you be proud of the work you do, the person you are, the difference you make. That blessed me. Then other items that we received. I said, well, I could use this, right? The body and hair butter, right? A fan, my notes. And she gave information that I said, wow, I can't wait. I can't wait to get with hot sauce. I can't wait to get with Watson. We're going to work on some things, right? We need to take time to say, what is it that you will have me to do, God? And how can I be a blessing to me? So sometimes we as servants, we just always think about others. How can I serve this person, that person? And some of the people you're trying to serve and have served, they're not even thinking about you. They could care less if you progress because everybody doesn't want to see everybody win. But that's all right. You be the light and you see everyone win by giving out positivity. But you become a partaker and say, you know what, today I'm going to work a little on my book. Today I'm going to work on my mindset. Today I'm going to do some things that you would say, go walking. So I'm grateful, and I just want to give shout out to Miss Lyric for such an amazing event that it was life changing to me, and it was worth the investment. The question I pose is, what are we doing, or how are we investing in ourselves? And from this day forward, what do we plan to do? In times like these, we need to invest in ourselves, whether it be a book, whether it be a good walk in the park, whether it be a good hobby, whether it be just that me time. So those are my words. And the mic is in your hand. The ball, the mic is in your hand. Oh, you know I'm a poet. You know it. All right. You know it's April.
And they my showers.
Right.
April showers give you flowers.
Bishop, go ahead, Bishop. Go
I'm
ahead. What you
sleepy. You
got?
know I'm grateful to be.
Right.
But
But,
I
but
want to finish my work. But you know what? I think, I wake up so early. But yeah, I'm a poet. You know it.
uh, but
When
but
I'm
but,
sleepy, I get a little goofy.
but like you said, at times like these, we need to be proactive and we need to be reactive and we need to be rest assured that no matter what happens, no matter what goes on, our power lies within God and not the government.
Okay. I
Yeah.
received that proactive. Reactive, I'm asking God, just let me minimize that, because the reactive part, some people will want to take you there. But I understand what you're saying, because everything, it's a positive side to it and a negative side. But yes, God is our source. How about you, hot sauce? What do you have to say besides saying you're hotter than hot sauce?
We we got we got to work backwards from the blessing. And what I mean by being working backwards from the blessing, we got to know that everything is going to be all right. We got to know that
Yes,
everything is going to come out from the good. Good. It's
yes,
going to work. Everything's going to
yes,
work. Everything is going to work out.
yes,
Now let's work backwards from that,
exactly.
knowing that in the end we're going to win. So since we know in the end we're going to win, now
Yes,
let's work back from some of that to
yes,
do everything we need to do to get ourselves prepared to receive that. All
yes,
right. So knowing, so don't fret about tomorrow or the
yes,
future or worry about it. Know
yes,
that it's going to work out. And you don't have to know how it's going to work out. You don't have to know how it's
yes,
going to be all right. All right. You just have to know that it's going to be all right so that you'll do the right things on the journey towards that destination. So now we got to do everything we need to do. So that means, as you said, work on yourself, work
yes,
on things. Seek it first the kingdom of God. But the kingdom of God is all that is God's way of doing things and his righteousness. What
amen.
has he created you for? You're not
Yes,
just a spot on this earth waiting
yes,
for God to figure out why. He already knew why before he formed you. So
yes,
now let's go ask God in the midst of this. Because sometimes in the
yes,
midst of adversity, you
yes.
find the biggest blessings in
Come
the
on,
midst of the
come
adversity.
on.
Diamonds
Yes,
come out of dirty coal. So since we're in this dirt, now is the time to see. Actually, you
yes,
may actually find why you were created and what you're here for such a
amen.
time as this. Those are the types of journeys that are we're working backwards from the blessing. Because in the end, the economy is gonna be better, your finances is gonna be better, you're gonna have everything that you need. All this mess is gonna be over. We're gonna come out for the good. Every demonic force will be trampled underfoot. Underfoot. So we already know that. So now let's look at the journey along the way, work back for the good. And the thing about it is that even right now, as we speak, you may not even know what that answer is. But
Correct.
put your mindset, put your
Yes,
head in the space that you're
yes,
ready to receive what
yes.
what your instructions are.
Hmm.
Amen. Amen. Wait a minute. I need to know. Thank you. I thank you for those words, because you're right. Sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. And then when we look back, the backwards, I looked at history. I had the opportunity to interview a nurse practitioner on yesterday, and she shared with me that in West Africa, in the country where she resides, right in that great continent, that minimum wage is $25 per month. And I said, $25 per month. Wow. So in other words, the low income is wealthy here. If you think about that, because you're getting more than $25 a month, here in the United States. So, there's so many things that we take for granted that we need to just tell God thank you, and
Yeah.
not think that,
Mhm.
it's so worse, that we in such a worse condition that we we will not be able to um, do well in life. So I say that because while working with some women, I was able to encourage them to start their own little business. They were receiving public assistance, and I was showing them, and I said, look, you might be getting $300 a month, but maybe perhaps we need to do this. And I gave them some steps. Some of them transitioned out and didn't need to pay. They were able to pay. They were able to pay market rent because I shared with them some strategies. And then
Mhm.
also they were able to pay for their own food. But when I looked and I see, and when I hear, or have heard, when I saw and when I have heard about the $25 a month for minimum wage, I said, oh no, I couldn't live in that. I can't live in that part of Africa. And so it just makes me think on how many of us really take a moment to thank God for what we do have. Because I said $25, like minimum wage. I mean, what is minimum wage here now? 15? But whatever the minimum wage, we know that minimum wage, we are kings and queens over here, But also, I'm just sitting here as you talk about, as we talk about in times like these, we need. I'm quite sure that all those adverse conditions and challenges, and our forefathers getting beaten down, and that the mothers were raped, and just so many things that happened. Some gruesome things happened that, um, they were still had that strength and stamina that I'm not going to quit. And so what are we going to do, or how are we going to get that in our spirit? Like, some of us have it. We have it that we can make it. We're not going to succumb. We're not going to succumb to the different vices out here. Some people say, I just didn't know how to deal with it, so that's why I succumbed to drugs. Or, it's so many things. Or I succumbed to this, or prostitution. I succumbed to that. It's so many things that you could succumb to, right? That is negative. But how about yielding to the positive things? I'm going to do more reading. I'm going to start working out, or I'm going to do. So we have to make up our mind. And that's something that we all have to do for ourselves. Like, what is it that we are looking to do? How are we going to make an impact in our lives, in our own life, but also how are we going to help family? And so I'm just grateful for this conversation that we had. This is just one of many. And I'm grateful that God has placed both of you in my life. And there's some others that God has placed in my life that have been there down through the years. And I just want to say to you, Hot Sauce, when you talked about the small things, I thought about when I told you in that yard, in that backyard, that you could be the DJ. You remember that long time ago, and I have the picture. And now that DJ service has expanded. It's a part of your ministry, and it's amazing. Life is
It
really
is. It
amazing.
is.
Or even when I talked to Watson, go and do the life coaching. Go ahead and take the classes. I was taking the classes, and he took it. And now you're using the tools and you're making impact. We can't afford to limit ourselves, and we can't afford to have any negativity or any mindset to tell us that we're not going to make it, even though we see these adverse conditions, even though we know that our people are going through. We have to say we're going to be the light. We're going to keep ourselves encouraged in any way that we can keep others, we will, without it depleting who we are. So I just want to say that as I hold this book, I'm praying that 2025, that, more blessings come our way, and that we will get up and do and not just play. Wow, the poet inside of me is telling you it's about our purpose and our destiny. Why should I just looking like go sit there, go do something with yourself? But wait a minute, I gotta say something, and I'm gonna give it the mic to Watson. And don't tell a fib. My older sister would say, "Tell the truth and shame the devil." What were you holding in your hand? What were you holding in your hand a couple minutes ago? Because we gonna lit into you. What were you holding into your hand, Bishop? What were you drinking?
Diet Coke.
Okay, why aren't you drinking water? Now and then, why aren't you drinking water? You should be drinking no Diet Coke. People use Diet Coke to clean. You use Coke can clean. Yeah, it can clean objects. I've heard that, and I had some reading on. I did some reading on that. So you should be drinking water. You have anything to say?
The Coke, this Diet Coke has no sugar, but it will also clean your insides out as well.
Well, you don't justify. We're gonna look that up about Diet Coke. Just drink the water, and then I know hot sauce can get on both of us because he does the alkaline water, and I would love for him to be able to articulate, if not tonight, another night, about how this water, the alkaline water, can purify. Because in times like these, we're gonna need some water purifiers, purification systems. We're gonna
Yes,
need to
sir.
start growing our own fruits and vegetables. It's a lot of things that we have a lot to think about and consider. But that's the new one right there. So I'm getting on you, Watson, to think on something to get on me. Talk about S cleansing him. That is not a detox. So don't be saying that. It's not a detox. So you did this on live, drinking your Diet Coke. Next time we want to see you drinking water.
Well, I guess a Diet Coke is better than a full Coke. So
No, but that's a new one.
I'm throwing your lifeline, Bishop. I'm throwing your lifeline.
Like, I want him to live. I know I want to live, so I got to change some stuff. So come on, no, I don't want to see him drinking the water. I can't tell him what to do with his body, but I'm just saying, wherever he is, that he should be drinking some water.
Yeah, water would be better. I mean, water is always better. We're 70% water, so it's always better. Our brains are 85% water, so we're always better to hydrate ourselves. And all we have to do is just look and make sure that we're drinking 8 glasses a day. Um, and that's what we want to make sure that we're doing. We're drinking 8 glasses. We'll just keep ourselves particularly hydrated
Sounds
because
great.
dehydration is dehydration is one of the big issues among us
Mm-hmm.
as people because you can function dehydrated,
Yes.
but people are functioning at dehydrated levels each and every day. And
That's
what
true.
happens is your body, because you're
Yeah.
not hydrated properly, your body will begin to borrow liquids from your organs.
Oh
And
wow.
eventually you'll get to a point where you don't have any liquid left
Oh
in your
wow.
organs. So you want to continue to replenish your body. And it's a process and it takes
It
time
is.
to really be constantly thinking about that. But again, but one way of thumb is that one rule of thumb, like for example, this canister that I have, I
Mm-hmm.
know that I want to at least drink three of these full things a day. If I
Yeah.
drink three of these a day, then I'm good to go. And I want to work toward that. I want to work toward that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he's also you can hydrate yourself through your foods too, and hydrated different hydrated fruits and vegetables. And like you said, we could talk about that
Yeah.
another time.
Yes.
And I just cut across Bishop Watson. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You
No.
had the floor. It wasn't on me.
Okay, Watson.
No, like I said, no, like I said, we always said about being proactive, reactive, and then having faith over fear.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Faithful.
Faith over, yeah, that's right.
That's a good one.
Yeah, faith over fear. That's so true. I mean, because we're in fear, but that's so true.
I
Yeah.
hear
Having faith over,
a rap song, but I'm not gonna sing it.
But then, like you said, faith over fear. But then, as Reverend Johnson always say, we will fight and we will win. So every
right,
time we fight, we win,
that's
Okay.
no
right.
matter what it looks like.
Sound like a plan, homie. All right. Well, on that note, who's going to close us out with some words of affirmation? Because I think it's that time. It's that time for me. Take a shower and close the eyes, pray, and get up and try to finalize the rest of what I have to do and submit on tomorrow. I am super excited that I'll have someone fellowshipping with me on tomorrow. She would like to be a volunteer for the upcoming graduation, May the 17th, as well as we have an upcoming event. I need to talk to you about that hot sauce on April the 27th. Yes, so this has been
Okay.
a great evening.
Yep.
Um, Last words.
You can and you will.
Ooh. Wow, that's powerful right there. Last words, Bishop.
Let's go to act. Let's go to action, and let's ready. Let's be ready to fight.
Hmm. Last words. It's time to fly. I know
Yeah.
this is geared towards the women. It's time to fly.
Yeah.
Brilliant women with beauty, brains, and balance. And I share that because I was in the platform or on the platform today, or in the atmosphere or in the environment with some powerful, positive women. So, on that note, I just want each and every one of us to remain blessed. And I've enjoyed this in times like these.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You want to play a little bit of your song? Well, one of you want to play a song? And then we have a little moment of meditation for those who are going through. Many people are going through different calamities. They're going through different struggles. Their body might be failing them. Their health may be declining. They may have a need for healing. Families may need to be restored. Um, Young people may need hope. Have lost their hope. So, in these last few minutes, we just want to send out love, love to humanity, love to humankind, love to our families, love to one another. So I'm going to ask that you play that song, a little bit of that song.
I don't have it queued up. I wasn't able to cue my music up.
Not a problem. I have it. I have it.
Yeah. My mind keeps thinking about William Becker being encouraged.
Faithful. So as we close out tonight, may God bless us all. May God keep us. May God's face shine upon us. Yeah. So we are dismissed. God
Yep.
bless. Faithful
Hey,
is
God bless y'all. Yep.
God
Yep.
bless. God bless. God
All right.
bless.
See y'all soon. God bless. See y'all. Love y'all. All
I love
right.
you more. Love you more. Love you more. Love you more. In stream. Hey, family.